Hi, welcome to maths classes. Let's solve question number 1 and 2 in exercise 1.2 in the chapter Real Numbers of class 10 NCERT Maths. Prove that root 5 is irrational. We should prove that the number root 5 is an irrational number. To prove this, contrary to the question given, let's take root 5 as rational. Let us assume, contrary to the given question, let's assume root 5 as rational number. If a number is rational, when will you tell the number is rational? If it can be expressed in the form of p by q, where p and q are integers and q not equal to 0. If you are able to express any number in the form of p by q, where p and q are integers and q not equal to 0, then the number can be called as a rational number. Okay. So now we have assumed root 5 as rational number. So we should be able to express root 5 as p by q. Okay. Suppose there is a number 2. 2 can be written as 32 by 16. So 16 ones are 16 twos are. So 2 is a rational number. We are able to express it as p by q. Now let us 16 ones are 16 twos are. Okay. 2 by 1. Now this 2 and 1, do they have any common factors except 1? 2 and 1 do not have any common factors except 1. So 2 and 1 are co-primes. Co-primes are those numbers which do not have any common factor except 1. Now root 5 is equal to p by q. Divide p and q with a common factor such that p and q become co-prime. P and q are co-prime. Now here 32 by 16. We are dividing 32 and 16 with a common factor. Both have common factor 16. We are dividing by 16. It is becoming 2 by 1. Now 2 and 1 are co-prime numbers. Similarly, here also express root 5 as p by q, where p and q are co-prime numbers. So now you can write p is equal to q into root 5. If it goes, q goes to left side, it will become multiplication. P is equal to q into root 5. That means p square is equal to q square into 5. That means p square is equal to 5q square. Okay. Now suppose there is a number 6. 6 can be written as 2 into 3. What do you call 2 and 3? 2 and 3 are factors. 2 and 3 are factors of 6 and 6 is divisible by both 2 and 3. Correct? The number 6 can be written as 2 into 3. If you are able to write any number as a product of other numbers, these numbers will become factors. And the initial number here 6 will be divisible by 2 and 3. So here also you can tell that here p square we are able to write it as 5 into q square. That means 5 and q square are factors of p square. Correct? Here you understood, right? 2 and 3. 6 is equal to 2 into 3. So 2 and 3 are factors of 6. Similarly, here p square is equal to 5 into q square. That means 5 is a factor of q square. If 5 is a factor of q square, you can tell that 5 is a factor of not q square, 5 is a factor of p square. Here you are telling 2 is a factor of 6, 3 is a factor of 6. Similarly, here also you will tell 5 is a factor of p square. That means 5 divides p square. You already know the theorem. If 5 divides p square, you can tell that 5 divides p. If 5 divides p square, 5 divides p also. Suppose 25 can be written as 5 into 5. That means 5 is dividing 25. 25 can be written as what? 5 square. So 5 also divides 5 all. 5 into 5. So 5 divides single digit 5. 5 divides 5 square also. 5 divides 5 cube also. So if 5 divides p square, you can tell 5 divides p. 5 is dividing p. That means p has a factor 5. But we already assume p is a co-prime number. This is first step number 1. P has a common factor. Here P and Q are co-primes. That means P and Q do not have any common factor other than 1. But here you got that P has a common factor P has 5 as a factor. Other than the common factor 1, P has a common factor other than 1. So, P divides 5. That means P can be written as 5 into R. This can be any number. Here 2 divides 6. So, 6 is equal to 2 into 3. P is equal to 5 into R. That means P, we already know P is what? Q into root 5. Here you can write P as Q into root 5 into 5R. If you square on both sides, Q square into root 5 whole square is equal to 5R square. That means root 5 whole square is 5Q square. 5Q square is equal to 5 square is 25 R square. 5 ones are 5 5s are. Q square is equal to 5 R square. That means 5 is a factor of Q square. That means 5 divides Q square. If 5 divides Q square, you can tell 5 divides Q also. That means 5 divides Q also. This is 1. 5 divides P, 5 divides Q. That means P and Q are having common factors other than 1. But initially we assume that P and Q are co-prime. They have only one common factor, that is 1. So based on 1 and 2, we are able to observe that P and Q have other than 1, they have another factor. So this contradicts to our initial assumption. This contradicts to our assumption that P and Q are co-primes. So our initial assumption what did you assume? Root 5 as rational is wrong. That means root 5 is irrational number. Okay, we have assumed root 5 as rational number. We got P and Q are co-primes. But when we are solving, at the end we came to know that P and Q are not co-primes. P and Q are not co-primes. So our initial assumption root 5 is rational is wrong. So we have proved that root 5 is irrational number. Next question. Prove that 3 plus 2 root 5 is irrational. Contrary, let's assume 3 plus 2 root 5 is rational number. 3 plus 2 root 5 is rational. That means 3 plus 2 root 5 can be expressed as P and P by Q, where P and Q are co-primes. P comma Q are co-primes. That means they should not have any common factor other than 1. 3 plus 2 root 5 is equal to P by Q. That means 2 root 5 is equal to P by Q minus 3. That means if you take Q as LCM, P minus 3Q, you get at the numerator. 2 root 5 is equal to P minus 3Q. Root 5 is equal to P minus 3Q by 2Q. So, what did you get here? Here we know that P and Q are co-primes and P by Q is rational number. Here we assume P by Q is rational number. So P minus 3Q by 2Q is also rational number. That means we got root 5 is rational number. But we already know that, root 5 is what? Root 5 is irrational number. We already proved that in the previous question. So, here when we assumed 3 plus 2 root 5 as rational, you got root 5 as rational. But we already know that root 5 is irrational. So, these two are contrary to each other. So, our initial assumption is wrong. Our initial assumption is wrong. What was our initial assumption? 3 plus 2 root 5 is rational. This is wrong. So, we have proved that 3 plus 2 root 5 is not rational number. That means it is irrational. This is the conclusion. 3 plus 2 root 5 is irrational number. When we assume 3 plus 2 root 5 as rational, we got root 5 as rational. When we solved all this, you got root 5 as rational. But we already solved in the previous question, root 5 is irrational. That means our assumption is wrong. So, 3 plus 2 root 5 is irrational number. We are able to prove that, hence proved. Thank you for watching the video. Like, share and subscribe.